Hi, this is Sally, and today is day 54 of my weight loss journey. So today I'm going to share about alternative to juices. I had a very good question yesterday about electrolyte imbalance. So I do coffee enema almost daily, and that's pretty important to me because that's my anti-aging, one of my anti-aging solutions that I do. And I think it's pretty important actually. So one of the reasons why I do coffee enema so regularly is because it is one of the linchpins of our natural healing therapy. And the idea about healing naturally is to actually create the environment in your body where your body can self-heal, self-rejuvenate, and self-repair. And you do that by removing all the toxins as much as possible daily and putting in the essential nutrients. So for cancer patients who are very, very ill, in fact, the natural therapy that we have in the company that I work with models the Gerson therapy, but it's much more affordable, and I think they actually improved some parts of it. So for example, they use plant-based enzymes rather than animal-based enzymes in the therapy itself. Also, in terms of iodine, we use kelp instead of the extra iodine. So in the cancer therapy, there are people also, just to disclaimer, we can't say that we cure cancer, right? Because I think even in modern medicine, with all the drug therapy and all that, there is no one can guarantee a cure. But we have cases where people who have fourth stage cancer have recovered, but it takes a lot of commitment and time. And the cancer therapy is usually between 2 to 5 years, and it's pretty intense. And one of the things that they do in the cancer therapy is about 2 to 5 enemas a day, depending on how toxic the body is. So there are certain rules to it. There is some bad press in online about coffee enema, but that's usually by people who have learned wrongly, or they try to do it themselves, or there are some people who are quite unscrupulous and they sell coffee that is not suitable, etc. So I think it's pretty important actually, if you're learning natural healing, to talk to people who have done it for many years, and you can actually see in their health that they're still okay, right? So one of the things that people, coffee enema is pretty comfortable once the whole process is over. And I think sometimes people do not know that that's to do it properly, and one of it is to make sure that you do not lose too much electrolytes. And that's why when I learned coffee enema, my mentor keep telling me that when I do coffee enema, I need to supplement it with 2 glasses of juices. So the juices, preferably it's cold pressed. So cold pressed, normally I'll take 2 carrots and 1 Greek apple. That's considered 1 glass. And the reason why it's cold pressed rather than blended, it's because when you blend, the blades actually whir around, and there's some heat generated, so it kills off the live enzymes in the juice, which kind of defeats the purpose. And secondly, because of the whirring of the blades, there's a lot of oxidation coming in as well, so it's not very useful. So preferably also that is organic, 2 carrots and 1 green apple, but then it's many of us have a budget, so it's difficult, I must say. If I had the budget, I would take to organic all the time, right? Especially now that my diet is moving more towards fruits and vegetables. But I think the one thing good about the cold pressed juicer that I have is that it juices, but then the fiber itself is not within the juice itself, so that's great because we don't know what's on the apple or the vegetables. Yes, so it's pretty important what sort of juicer you have, and I suggest having cold press. But of course, the challenge is that when you juice, it takes up some time. So time is well, there's no shortcut around it if you want health, right? So I used to think, oh, it's too troublesome and all that, but I think the more I am aware and alert, and the more I love my own body, and I want to be a proper steward of it, then I think it is time that is necessary to put in, right? Some people spend hours in the gym every week. I think exercising is great. I think it's not as important as the kind of diet we put inside, because I think health is like 80% diet, maybe 20% exercise, and quite a bit behind that, which is sleep. So however, being in modern life and city life and being really busy, there are alternatives to juicing if you don't have the time. So I'm going to share about it now. Okay, so the alternative juicing is to use Honeygirl water, and Honeygirl water is approximately 250 ml of distilled water, 1 teaspoon of raw honey, and 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. So of course, the apple cider vinegar that you buy, right, it's good that it comes in a glass, and to make sure that it's organic, you don't want something that is filtered or distilled. Okay, you will need to make sure that there is we call this the mother. It looks like dirt. These are where the enzymes are, and if you are able to buy apple cider vinegar and keep it for a long time, it doesn't spoil. And in fact, this mother of the ACV will actually grow, and the more it grows, right, the more nutritious it actually is. So I actually have a friend who bought many bottles. She calls it in Chinese we call it 家庄. 家庄 is basically what the family gives to the daughters of the house before they marry. So this is a pretty health conscious family. So she bought many bottles to keep for many years, and to have it as a 家庄when her daughters get married. So I have seen, where the mother actually grows up to here. Yeah, that's for many years. It's super nutritious. So it doesn't spoil. This one I got from New Life. I love New Life. I really trust Dr. Lin because she is in natural healing and therapy. And so at least, the products from New Life are different from off the shelf because they are used in the chronic disease therapy. So this one is actually from New Zealand itself, from organic Nelson apples, and these Nelson apples are not, well, it's interesting, when I attend the classes, sometimes when they actually ferment all these apples, you don't know whether it's fresh, or they're slightly spoiled, and therefore they're ferment it. But these are freshly plucked Nelson apples from the trees, and they use it to make apple cider vinegar. So I love it. And yeah, this is raw organic honey. So real honey, right, sometimes there's a separation. I'm not sure whether you're able to see this slight change in color here, and you don't want honey that is totally uniform. Honey with a very uniform texture is because it is already processed, and then these companies have to make sure their products are uniform before they put it on the shelf so that it looks good, etc. And generally, honey that is raw and not processed changes with the seasons. So like if the honey was produced in winter, the texture is usually thicker. If in summer, it's thinner. And then if you leave it for a while, there will be some separation of the sediments and all that. And real honey attracts ants. Okay, I don't know where the fable came about where they say real honey doesn't. No, treated honey doesn't, because animals are quite sensitive, and you got to question yourself if the creature doesn't dare to go near the food, right? There's this story about a Malaysian farmer who was growing his crops, you see, and he had one big plot where he grows his commercial crops, and a little plot of land where he grows his own crops for his family. And the one that is sold commercially had big lovely leaves, it looks gorgeous, but the ones that he had for his family, you know, it wasn't so big. The leaves were eaten, you know, by caterpillars, and there were some pests on it. Yeah, so but those leaves that are not as beautiful as those ones that are sold were for his family. And then they asked, so what happened? Why do you, you know, look at this, you know, rather dismal looking vegetable? Why do you keep that for your family? And he mentioned that, well, the ones that are being sold are full of pesticides. That's why the pests don't dare to go near it, and that's why the leaves are so beautiful. Whereas this one is totally organic, you know, and so it's not so good looking. Yeah, so anyway, that's what the story is. So so that's my concern also, because if it's not labeled organic, and even labeling has its own issues, then there are some pesticides, and there are more pesticides than whatnot, because when the vegetables and fruits are being shipped, they need to be stored, etc. And so in order to make profits, the apples have to last a long time, so, or the vegetables. Yes, so okay, so anyway, back to my alternative to juices. First, you take the apple cider vinegar and the honey, and you make a honeyger concentrate, because that makes it easier to actually mix it together. And I'll put a link to my video on how to make honeyger. But otherwise, it's 250 ml of distilled water, 1 teaspoon of raw honey, 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, and what you need is actually, or what I use is actually 1 sachet of super green food. And super green food is a mixture of 23 ingredients. So you want to get a supplement that is whole food supplement. So basically it's actually food, but it's in powdered form. It just makes it very convenient. It's more convenient than juicing. So in this super green food, so inside is vacuum packed, and the powder is a very dark green in color. So it's a mixture of mangosteen, barley grass, wheatgrass, apple pectin, brown rice, bee pollen, kelp, stevia, green tea extract, macaw berry, blueberry, cranberry, spirulina, alfalfa, red beet, chlorella, royal jelly, acerola, juice powder, milk thistle, ginseng extract, dairy-free probiotic culture, ginkgo biloba, and grapeseed. Yes, so what I do is I will put this into my cup, and generally well, it's not really a cup, it's actually a shaker. So I just find it easy to shake it rather than to stir it in, because when you stir it, it doesn't dissolve as well. And on days where I do coffee enema, I make sure to add this. It's not salt actually. This is actually quite a misleading representation. It's actually, the K is for potassium, so this is not sodium, this is potassium. It's for also electrolyte balance. And they call it salt because it looks like salt, but it isn't. So it looks like, yeah, like this. Okay, so I'll take a teaspoon of it. It's just a pretty small spoon. It's smaller than a teaspoon actually. Yeah, this is about 1/4 to 1/2 of a teaspoon. And then I just, you know, take about this amount, right? And I will put it with my mixture and shake it. Yeah, but I don't just take that on its own. Sometimes when I go outside when I eat out, or when I have my instant noodles, you know, and all that, when there's MSG and sodium, I would need to take this, because optimally our diet should be 3 parts potassium and 1 part sodium. Too much sodium is, of course, you know, creates too much sodium, too much acid creates that environment in the body where cancer cells thrive. And so sometimes when I can't avoid having some sodium in my food, or especially when I eat out, or when I succumb and have instant noodles, then I will make sure I have my potassium. I will have an increased amount of potassium, but generally in day to day, I will try to have at least that at least twice a day. So I mix it with water, or I mix it with my juice. Yeah. So generally you shouldn't add it into hot water. The most is like room temperature. Yeah, so this is my rather long video on alternative juicing. So that's what I sometimes do when I don't have time to juice. And normally when I do my coffee enema, I try to have that 2 glasses, but nothing happens, you know, if I don't have that 2 glasses, because on those days when I juice, I'll have a couple more, like I'll have about 4 to 6 glasses anyway, so it kind of works out. Generally, it's advisable if I do coffee enema to have the juice within the day itself. It doesn't matter whether it's before or after. And for those of you who, you know, don't get fresh juices, or you are going to places where you don't know whether the juice is fresh or they mix it with water and stuff like that, or you just don't want to, you know, go out and have outside food in this day of coronavirus, so that would be a very healthy alternative. Yes, so that's my sharing for today. I hope you found it useful. Feel free to put your comments below, and subscribe to my channel if you want to hear more, and I'll see you in the next video.